Hades 2 is, my powers of deduction inform me, the sequel to Hades 1, an isometric hack-and-slash game by Supergiant Games with lots of very sexy voice dialogue, and represents on multiple levels a very significant development in the path of this particular developer. For one thing, it means we now have to refer to Hades 1 as Hades 1, like it's some kind of particularly ill-fated space mission. And secondly, this is the first time Supergiant Games have ever made a sequel, when all of their games up to now have been unique original IPs. Fucking boo, Supergiant. You used to be one of the good ones. What happened to the sheer unbridled creativity that gave us Bastion, an isometric hack-and-slash game with lots of sexy voice dialogue? Or Transistor, an isometric hack-and-slash game with lots of... You know what, actually, forget I said anything. Hey, you forgot to mention Pyre, Yahtzee, that wasn't a hack-and-slash game. Oh, hey, what's that on the floor? It's the riff you just killed, asshole. Remind me not to ask you to pet sit. Hades 2, then. I was looking forward to this, because obviously I really like Hades. Roguelikes are a bit old hat, yeah, and games based on Greek mythology are, if anything, even older hat. That's some fucking stovepipe shit. But what set Hades apart was its phenomenally good writing. I loved its subversive twist on the old Orpheus plot, where instead of descending into the underworld to reach the lair of the final boss, you basically start out in the lair of the final boss and have to make your way up to the nice quiet meadow on the surface that would conventionally be the starting area, where the final boss shows up incredibly annoyed at the cost of the Uber he had to take to get there. And I liked how Hades wasn't a stock evil revenge-seeking bad guy type, but a sort of gruff but caring, grumpy dad, and the conflict stemmed more from an inability to communicate and a tendency to send loads of dudes to hit us with swords a whole bunch. So I was keen to know what Hades 2 was going to bring to the table. Glad you asked, Yahtzee. We're going to subvert things even further. Now, instead of ascending out of the underworld to the surface, you have to descend from the surface to the underworld and beat the final boss in his lair. And this time, the final boss is a stock evil revenge-seeking bad guy who isn't complex at all. Woo, double subversion. Wouldn't that just be a version? Oh, and the main character has a vagina instead of a penis now, which is more of an inversion thinking about it. Melinoe is the second child of Hades and younger sister of Zagreus, who was sent as a baby to live in the woods with Hecate before the underworld got conquered by the titan Kronos, mysteriously resurrected and with a real narcon for the Olympian gods, presumably because of all that unfortunate castration business in the original myth. Raised by Hecate as a warrior, Melinoe must now fight her way down to the former house of Hades, confront the titan of time, and shove a grandfather clock up his arse. Now, I do like Hades, with its beautiful hand-painted character art and seemingly bottomless well of dialogue variants. That means even 300 runs in, the cast are still finding new and interesting ways to talk about whatever obscure figure from Greek mythology handed you your own ovaries recently. But while all of that was still in evidence, I felt initially disappointed that Hades 2 seemed to be mainly going over the same beats as the first game. Hang out in home base, select a weapon, crawl the same 4 dungeons. With little changed besides which specific figures from Greek mythology we hang out with now. Oh, Odysseus is here instead of Achilles. Wow, what a fucking sea change. Trading in heel anecdotes for whining about dead dogs. The format of the room-by-room dungeon clearing is the same, although the third area is based around exploring large open spaces, because I guess that's about the time the level designers knock off for lunch, and combat still based around a variety of unlockable weapons with a normal attack, a special, and a cast, although there is slightly more of an emphasis on holding buttons down to do magic-infused attacks, which I'm not huge on. Holding down buttons versus tapping them in hectic, fast-paced combat is like putting on Wellington boots for the 100-meter sprint. Yeah, non-committal noises. What else are you doing that's new, Hades 2, that isn't just new wallpaper on the old format? You can grind up resources with which to craft upgrades now. For the sake of our friendship, I'm going to overlook the implication that I should get excited about that. Well, I guess you're right, Yards, it's more of the same. Sorry for disappointing you. I'll just leave now out through this door. What door, Hades 2? Oh, just this door over here that leads up from the hub area and doesn't unlock till like 6 hours in. And where does that door lead, Hades 2? Oh, nowhere much, just an entire fucking second Hades game bolted onto the side of this one, with new levels and bosses and characters and story and everything. Oh my god, the levels even have a unique environment design. What a fucking flex! What a tease! See, as well as dealing with Kronos himself, Melinoe has to ascend Mount Olympus to rout Kronos' forces there, after she's crafted a special potion that means she can survive on the surface for prolonged periods. Hang on a minute, wasn't the fact Zagreus couldn't survive outside the underworld the whole thing driving the plot of Hades 1? If only he'd known he was one bowl of minestrone away from resolution the whole time. What this means is when you get bored of taking the Kronos path, you can have a few whacks at the Olympus path for variety, and it all ensures that Hades 2 is a game I officially never get bored of. That said, the Olympus route is quite a bit harder, so towards the end, after I'd beaten the Kronos route enough times that there was nothing more to gain or learn, and I was basically swatting Kronos back and forth across his boss arena with a tennis racket every time, I was stuck beating my head against Mount Olympus over and over again, while the game very patiently waited for me to be less of a crap out, so it could finally show me this exciting conclusion it had put together. And incidentally, in the words of everyone who used to like Ridley Scott, fuck Prometheus. But in contrast to Silksong, I never resent the difficult bits, because I can always wind down from my defeats with some character moments and optional challenges, and maybe les up with Nemesis in the bath. Hades 2, The Real Slim Shadys, is an example of what I tend to think of as a We Love Katamari sequel, which is to say, a sequel that's really just the first game, but more polished and more of it. And I'm not going to talk it down for that much, because for crikey is there more of it. It's going to make it fucking hard to go back to the first one, for which my only real complaint was that the gameplay eventually got samey, and I never had that feeling from Hades 2. Even in my non-work hours, I've been playing its olives off and see no reason not to keep doing so. Yeah, I guess it's a strong recommend. You know, I talk shit about games games constantly going back to Greek and Norse mythology, but in this age of video on demand, it's gratifying that there's still some kind of monoculture in the world. It's nice to see familiar faces. Oh hey Prometheus, you've gained weight since God of War 2. Please stop kicking me in the face. This video is brought to you by Incogni. You know, in today's surveillance-obsessed world, I wish I had the power to render myself invisible to the security cameras of every shop, government facility and zoo animal enclosure I patronise, so that the resultant footage can't be used to scam me, steal my identity to open credit cards and cause damage that might take years to undo, blackmail me, or initiate criminal proceedings. Well, guess what? That's exactly what Incogni does for me when I'm doing the equivalent of such things on the internet. Sign up at incogni.com/secondwind with code secondwind to get 60% off, set yourself up on the lovely dashboard and sit back as Incogni goes around erasing your name, sweeping up your footprints, and mopping whatever incriminating bodily fluids you left behind. And now with the custom removals feature of the new unlimited plans, you can give Incogni the heads up on any specific places where you've been particularly indiscreet, so they can get a real deep clean going. That's incogni.com/secondwind and use code secondwind to get 60% off. It's the best personal data removal service out there, and also the only one that's very nearly a palindrome.